So we talk about the stages in yoga where we have done our practice, we have done our sadhana, things are going well, we have the support, we know what to do, we have the teacher, we have come to a significant point, and in our bone marrow we know this is a breakthrough moment, this is a breakthrough opportunity. We just need to push through the door and we are in another state. But for some reason we can't do it. There is like a hump. How do we get over the hump? Yeah? You get over the hump like you get over everything else, you know. You keep at it. You find a way to blast it apart, you find a way to dig underneath it, you find a way to go around it. But the hump does not exist because the obstacle that is preventing attainment does not exist so much because of external reasons as because of some internal reason. You see, there are moments of growth in our practice where we know, right, this is, we are, our body, our mind, our emotion, our internal setting has shifted to a higher level. So this is one of the great tragedies of yoga, that there is hardly ever a plateau state. There is hardly ever a time where, let me now pause and take a breath, or I am perfectly content and satisfied with my attainment still now, and therefore, now I'll just keep the engine ticking and next lifetime I'll be serious about it. You can't do that, because in yoga every setback is also a step down. Every time you get an opportunity, an avsaram, that karmic moment when you can break through, kairos, the moment of destiny, not chronos, not the chronological movement, but kairos, the moment of destiny, what we call avsaram. Every time when you have the avsaram, and for whatever reason, sometimes very valid reasons, most of the time self-created reasons, every time we don't break through, it is not that we are at that door and we are pounding on it. Every time we come to that state and we don't break through, we actually go all the way down the lane again. It's not like you are at the threshold and you stay at the threshold. The reason why that is so is to develop the intensity, to develop the accumulation of shakti, to come to the moment where you can cross the dwara, you can cross the threshold. It is called in psychology the liminal moment or the liminal stage. There is a threshold between one state of consciousness and a higher state of consciousness. It's called liminal. The boundaries are very fluid at that moment. Or in your case, you might, or in many cases, we might feel that while we know, and we know that this is what we are supposed to do, we know that this will really benefit us, but there seems to be opposition. And yes, there will be opposition. Sometimes the opposition is from the asura prakriti. Very often the opposition is purely and simply tamas. Purely and simply your own inertia, and fear also is part of that. You're fearful that what will happen to me if I make the shift. And that is why it is a very, very rare person who can remain at the door and at the threshold. Like I say, most people, they have to go down the lane. Because that last point where you come to the door or the threshold is usually a sprint. There will be days or weeks when you're actually rapidly accelerating and you come to that point where now you can push through. And if at that moment you don't push through, then whatever reason, the old tamasic inertia, the old habits of the body kick in, and then again you regress. Because that kind of shakti build-up that is required, that kind of energy build-up, that kind of determination, will, intensity, so many things required to be functioning well. Even the mind has to be ready, the emotion has to be ready. It is well known that people, when they have a great opportunity in life for a new breakthrough or a new opening, they make some excuse and turn their face away from it. Somebody is getting a brand new opportunity, no, but I don't want to leave my current job, or I don't want to leave my current city, or that will require this much extra work which I don't wish to do, and they are turning their face away from their destiny. They're turning their face away from their fate, or even their basic desire, but because they are afraid of the consequences of that. If I change, what will happen? If I push through that door, what will I find? Will I recognize myself when I go through the other? At least I know, which is why the old saying, better the devil you know, than the devil you don't. And we are the best devil we know, no? We are at least, we are a very kind and forgiving devil, because the human being will always let oneself down very gently. How many people are in the habit of being demanding on themselves? So the point is, this is not well known, that moments of breakthrough are rare. I don't mean rare in that extremely rare, but they are unusual enough to be called rare. It's not a commonplace occurrence. A genuine psychological, mental, emotional, full body, all four dimensions, body, mind, emotion, prana, shakti, a genuine shift in how the whole organism is constituted, it comes certain times in life. I've explained this before, that anyways everybody gets 3 spontaneous jagrans. That is a universal gift. There are 3 spontaneous awakenings that people are given. And that is the time when you find a process, you find a teacher. First time, second time. First time usually happens too early in life, nobody makes it. Second time it happens, usually by the time you're married, you have children, or you're in the middle of some demanding job. Again you turn your face away. Third time is your last time in life. If that time also you miss it, then God knows how many lifetimes you might be wandering around for that chance to come again. I know it sounds pretty harsh, but 3 times is enough. 3 opportunities are enough. More than that is indulgence. Now you see, because the culture was a very spiritually based culture, when a Jagran happened, it was instantly recognized. When an activation happened, the physical processes, what the person would communicate, I am feeling this way, I am experiencing this in my body, those were very common, and they would say, okay, time to do some sadhana. And there were enough spiritually experienced and advanced people to help, and there were enough authentic gurus to help. So it was not an issue, it was just taken for granted. Yeah, okay, Jagran has happened, alright, we need to deal with it. Today, since that whole cultural scaffolding has been knocked to pieces, when a Jagran happens, you are medicated. Or you are taken to a therapist and then he medicates you, which is like even worse. And the family thinks you're going crazy, and the number of people who write to me that they have to keep their sadhana private and secret from the family because the family would disapprove. I'm like, this is what we have come to. Because in India, sadhana is thought of as the person will renounce, he will vairagya, and then he will go to the Himalayas, he'll join an ashram, he or she will stop their responsibilities to the family, to that. So a lot of fear around it. There's a lot of fear around it, and what they know is that something has shifted in them. They know that something vital has happened in them. They know that they are no longer the people they used to be. They can feel that their body is in a different setting. They can feel their mind and emotion is in a different setting. And they know something needs to be done to make this permanent. So they go looking around, and sometimes they find me, very often they find other people, which is there are very few people like me who will tell the truth straight out. This moment of opportunity, this avsaram, this moment of kairos, spontaneously 3 times it happens. Once you are in a regular sadhana, it happens much more, because it is not one one ignition. It is a multiple stage, like the booster rockets, You have to keep having multiple stage ignition, and finally you are free of the pull of gravity. And then you are into outer space. In a sense, like gravity pulls, that is our tamas. The moment we are going to break through from one stage to the other, the inertia and the conditioning and the expectation and the general life circumstance tends to pull you down. And at that moment, you need to be very stubborn. At that moment, you need to, if it is a genuine liminal moment, if it is a genuine moment when you will pass through the dwara, you will pass through the doorway. That's what it is called, the dwara. You will pass through the doorway. You must not let that go. You must see it through. Even if you cannot meditate the amount you would like to meditate, even just by holding on to, I'm not going to let this go. Just hold on to that intensity, because you will know when it happens, your body is always in a different state of intensity. Your mind is in a different state of intensity. Your emotions are in a different state of intensity. You become, to whatever extent, not always, but you become to whatever extent prachand. And at least that new feeling or that new sensation or that new awareness that is within you, you must not let that go. Because then, like I said, you are no longer standing and knocking on the door, you are back at the end of the lane. Sometimes you are ejected out of the city only. You are wasting your time here, you are wasting your opportunity here. How does one get over the hump? If you are seeing it as a hump and you are unable, the first thing you should do is talk to your teacher. You should talk to the mentor and say, this is what is happening. Talk to the guru and say, this is what is happening. The parampara will help, the guru will help. Ask for grace, because Sharanagati, this is the only aspect of faith that yoga demands, Sharanagati. By aligning yourself to the parampara and the process and the gurus, the sharanam, to coming into the sharanam, which is into the refuge or the embrace, not the surrender, there is gati. By doing that, by coming into that kshetram, Sharanagati is a way of coming into the kshetram of the parampara or the guru. By coming into the kshetram, by coming into the field of transformation, there is gati. So, that ability to keep that awareness going all the time is rather difficult. It comes only with practice. So many times we go to the tipping point and we fall back. Later on, as we become more experienced in yoga, as we become stronger in our shakti, we realize, oh my God, what an opportunity I blew at that moment. I completely threw away an opportunity. And what to do? There is no point with regrets, though regrets are very enjoyable. It's lamentation is very enjoyable. We found lamentation to be so enjoyable, we created a professional class of people to lament on our behalf, professional mourners, Rudalis, because it is enjoyable. But the lamentation doesn't help. In yoga, regrets don't help. Yoga is very pragmatic. Yoga is brutal. Did it work? Did it not work? Either you got through the door or you didn't. That I pushed the door open and I saw one heavenly panorama there through the chink. That doesn't count. Though most people are very happy with that glimpse through the chink. Because when you get to that panorama, you'll realize, okay, there's more here. That's the other part, the other thing about yoga. I always used to think that when you come to the point where no fresh karma is added and the mind is still, okay, attainment, there's nothing more to be done, it's all done, you're clear, your human birth has been validated. You don't realize what knot is then put onto you. what additional responsibilities are given, what work is given. People don't realize, but then you have the fortitude to deal with it. But that is a different matter altogether. What I am talking about is this business of you know from your bone marrow upwards, this is going to shift me. And you also know I am going to mess this up. Yeah. Is it not a common experience? Yeah, you really know this is a significant damn thing. And I'm going to blow it up. At that time, you need to keep your determination. You need to keep your determination at that moment. I will not blunder here. I will not let this go. I will see this through. Very often, just that, it's a test. Do you really want it? Because in yoga, nothing that you don't really sincerely want comes to you. You know, it's like this business of manifestation. Now, manifestation is a multi-billion-dollar business today. You know, books and videos and TV programs and workshops and seminars and personal coaching. Manifest your reality, manifest your dreams. How come nobody is getting it? 98-99% of the people are not succeeding. Here is the problem. We attract what we are. Yes, that is well known in yoga. We attract what we are. What we desire may not be what we are. What we are, our fundamental setting, our fundamental enteleki, our swadharma, may not be what we desire, because our desires we pick up. We pick up from the environment, we pick up from family, we pick up from seeing what our friends do, because if all of them went to IIT and IIM, then we should also go. You know? And the kind of car that you have is completely dependent on your social circle. Whether you like it or not, you must have a car that is this big and this broad and this high. Do you want that car? Is that the car that you really would have liked? So this split between what we are, because that is the only thing we can attract, and what we desire, because they might not be authentic. If it is an authentic desire, trust me, it will manifest, especially if you are in yoga. And this depresses the hell out of people when I tell them, because that is not who you are. Now you look at somebody like Donald Trump, you know, he specializes in being obnoxious. You know? Yeah, you know, he just specializes in being obnoxious, but being obnoxious is not who he is. What he is a billionaire. His basic setting is to be a rich guy. No matter how many times he hits bankruptcy, he goes right back. Obnoxiousness is just a talent he has developed later. You know, that is not who he is. That is probably his desire, to piss people off and to be obnoxious. What he basically is, at his core, he has that money vibration. He has that thing to pull money. We attract what we are. At the moment he thinks I can be a president, he is deeply mistaken. Because again, he is confusing what he is with what he desires. So what can we do? We either change what we are into what we desire, or we only desire what we are. Now you see, people understand, as I was saying earlier in the day, people understand I'm not going to run in the Olympics. Okay, everybody gets that. I'm not going to climb Everest. So nowadays they take you up on helicopters apparently, alright. You know, these things we can understand. But this desire to be rich, or this desire to be famous, or this, you know, that farmer chappie who died by hanging in that rally in Delhi, he just wanted to be a somebody. So he was actually preening and prancing for the cameras, and then he thought that I'll pretend to commit suicide and somebody will come and take me down, and it all went wrong and the poor fellow died. You see, this is the what I keep saying, that yoga is very hard. It is fundamentally ugra, it is fundamentally fierce. That we attract what we are. If it is not what you are, then just because you desire it, and this is the other reason why in yoga they keep saying, don't talk about your realization to anybody except the teacher, because it causes confusion in other people. Then other people hear that you saw or you had this one experience, they want to now replicate that experience. And nobody should try to replicate somebody else's experience. They should all try to have their own authentic experience. Forget replicating experiences, they start imitating the teacher. I'm like that. I have said this many times that the test of any real guru is that are his people authentic in their own right, or are they all just imitating him? They imitate his accent. I have seen people try to imitate Swami Chinmayananda's Mallu accent. I mean, come on, please give me a break. So to come back to a point, when we are making that breakthrough, because we have done the sadhana, because we have the Sharanagati, because we have the blessing, because we have, and we are at the doorway and we can't go through, sometimes it may be because you don't want to go through, that is not who you are. They know that if I make the break, I will be a different human being, I will resonate differently with the world, my relationships will alter, people will perceive me differently, people will interact with me differently, and I am not sure if I can deal with that. So they will find something to sabotage it. Some life situation will miraculously manifest, or they will hurt themselves, they will have an accident. Now you cannot be blamed, no, because you are lying up with your leg in plaster. And Jung's first question when somebody had an accident was, why did you do that to yourself? What are you avoiding? What don't you want to face or confront, that you have now given yourself a socially accepted way out? The sankalpa, the determination, the will to hold on, this is what I am going to do. I will make this. I won't diminish my intensity. I will not, most people think that it's like the burner on the flame. We'll keep it at low flame and occasionally we'll turn it to the high. Alright, I'm not saying that doesn't work, but you cannot keep doing that. There has to be a time when your high flame, once you break through to the next level, that is your low flame for the next level. The level of intensity you currently experience and you say, this is the peak, my God, in my life I have never felt so alive, in my life I have never felt so energetic. If you think that is the pinnacle, then you are in deep trouble. Because every pinnacle is the foothill of the next climb. There is not just line of development, there is also level of development, which is why they say it is not just a step back, it can very often be a step down. This is very clearly understood, that if you step back, you are saying, okay, uncomfortable, at the moment I can't do this, or some life situation has happened, at the moment I can't do this, I'm going to tone it down. But every time you step back, you also step down. Now this, I normally don't speak about it because people tend to get little unhappy about it. They don't want to hear that I might slave and struggle and then in the end that all that progress might actually come to nothing. It's perfectly possible you made a wrong turn. Now, the habit of doing sadhana regularly, the habit of actually getting your body and your mind and your emotion and your prana shakti to a certain heightened state, that will serve you well the next time you go into that, because then it becomes very easy. That whole activation happens very easily the next time, because now your body has got a new way to process its experiences. But it's perfectly possible to do stupid things and wander way off track and blunder and come to very sticky and bad ends. No, it's all this new age stuff that, oh no, everything is. See, if you are in parampara, all that is difficult to happen. If you are in regular communication with the guru, all that is difficult to happen, because the minute you're going off track, you will be hauled back. The whole point of parampara and guru is to just keep bringing you back, keep bringing you back in alignment, keep bringing you back in alignment. No, that is that important? Many people cannot, in the early stages of sadhana, the early stages of spiritual discipline, distinguish between a genuinely important spiritual experience and just something that is interesting but not really relevant. That time you need to tell the teacher. If you don't get into the habit of processing that, if you don't get into the habit of using discrimination, viveka, you will think that some kind of little bubble that happened here is the same as a genuine movement forward. So it takes little time and training, it takes little practice, it takes little familiarity, and most of all it takes determination. One needs to be in that state where one will see it through. You know the old story, why haven't I seen God? So the teacher dunks the disciple's head in the river until he is almost drowned, and he pulls his head out. Now when you want God the way you desired breath just now, that's when you'll see. So that, again, it's a question of we attract what we are. You know, we all desire intensely breath. That is what we are. If we don't have it for 3.5 minutes, so life gives it in abundance. Yeah, keep breathing. It depresses people. They get so unhappy when they tell me we've been doing the manifestation and it's not working. And I'm like, but that's not who you are. Deep within your bone marrow, you don't really want that. You don't really want the consequences of the change of your manifestation. So what do? They have these impossible dreams, because they are so impossible they'll never manifest. Especially the relationship ones. I've said this before, I'll say it again because it's fun always. You have a shopping list of qualities in your ideal mate. Between 17 to 30 parameters that another human being must possess. So when the whole litany is gone through, I have two questions. Question number one, how many times do you intend to be in a relationship or get married? Because one person doesn't have all these qualities. So if you want to experience all of them, you'll have to go through 2-3 marriages. Question number two, if this paragon exists, why would they? What are you bringing to the table? Now you know why I'm not popular. I'm like, see, this is an unrealistic. This image that you have is not a real human being. It's a movie image. It's an idealistic image. A real human being is not like this. Is there any space for flatulence and sweating in this mental image that you have? Or it's always going to be roses? So of course they don't have space for that. They don't have space for reality. They don't have space for, maybe there will be days when it will be down. And the first thing in yoga is that you have to be in contact with reality. Shabda jnana anupatim vastu shunya vikalpa, and most of the new age is vastu shunya vikalpa only. No? Evidence free conceptualization, there is and you can't do that. So when you're asking how does one get over the hump, the very fact that the question needs to be asked means that somewhere the determination is lacking. Let me assure you, if you are genuinely succeeding in yoga, the challenges keep getting bigger and bigger. It is sometimes as if the whole universe takes malicious pleasure in opposing you. You're like, come on, give me a break, damn it. But at that moment, you shouldn't back down. At that moment, you shouldn't say, okay, maybe not this time. You should say, I am standing here and I'll see it through. I'm not going to back down. I'm standing here and I'll see it through. I'll make the breakthrough. And usually, if that level of determination, that level of sankalpa is there, that level of intensity is there, within 2 days the breakthrough happens. But you have to come to that point where you tell the universe, I'm not going to break. Or you got to tell the life circle, I'm going to keep. See, sometimes I understand there are, you are at a point where something will happen and somebody in your family falls ill. You cannot say, I'm doing my sadhana, I cannot be interrupted, so please die at my convenience, You cannot say that. You'll have to deal with that situation. So yes, at that moment, I have to put a pause button on this. Don't put a pause button on the intensity. At that moment, make that absolutely bone marrow upwards, make that intention, make that sankalpa. When I come back, I will come back at this level of vibration. I will come back at this level of determination. Because you can't say, I'm not going to come, no? There is a death in the family, you can't say, sorry, I have to meditate, I mean, people do, but, it's a little silly, and we are an integral yoga path. So, life happens, all life is yoga, even the fact that you have to go for a funeral can add to your determination. Most people go to funerals and then start blabbering nonsense about how everything in life is fleeting and transient, and you really cannot be sure, and why are we doing all these things. Shamshana Vairagya, it is well known in yoga. That in the Shamshana you go and you see all this, and then you develop a little aversion to the rat race. It usually goes in a week, one fortnight. Then the person is back to money grubbing. So, that is not taken seriously. If you just be determined, if you just say, no matter what, I won't let my intensity go. Miyamoto Musashi, Kensai, the sword saint. By the age of 35, he killed 63 people, but he ended up enlightened. And man, you should see his paintings, and he would make these little lacquer bottles and he'd make little sword hilts. What an artist also. Book of Five Rings, he wrote that. And he had a saying, which is like a pretty wild saying, but if you understand the yogic perspective, he said, live intensely every day of your life as if your hair is on fire. In my case, that's probably why I lost my hair. It was so much on fire, nothing's left. But yes, every yogi instantly understands. Oh yes, blood brother. That quality is what sadhana should develop. That your hair is on fire. You must have that level of determination. I will see this damn thing through. Not today, then tomorrow. Not tomorrow, then day after tomorrow. Not this week, then next week. Not next week, then next month. But damn it, I'll see it through. Most people give up at that moment. They say it's too difficult. Or even worse, they announce we have failed. You have just met with an obstacle. You haven't failed as yet. There has been opposition, there has been block, delay, you haven't failed. Instantly failure. This is difficult for people to understand. And this is why yogis, before taking people and teaching them, they would wet them so harshly. Because they needed to find that the people would have the determination to see it through. Neither you invest years and years in a person, and then the person comes up against a genuine block, and they have nearly a psychological breakdown, and then they abandon all the sadhana, they abandon all the knowledge. So years and years of input has gone waste. How old ashrams, I told you, I have explained to you people what is the entry test. They would make you sit down, fill your lap with soil, moisten the soil and leave seeds, and then when it germinated, they'd come back. So if you move, or you get up, or you can't sit, then it won't germinate. Those in whose lap the seeds have germinated, please come in, the rest of you, please. Now, we are living in times when such horrendous tests are not done. Our 8 spiritual breaths, in John Dingle's book, it is written how the monks in the monastery would practice. They'd put their face into piles of sand and they'd exhale to test their control over their breath. Because if puffs of sand came up, then your control is not perfect. They'd exhale so gently that the sand wouldn't rise. That used to be the old kind of training. That used to be the kind of determination that people had. Today everything has been made easy. यार child's play made easy कर दिया है सबके लिए. उसीलिए लोग भागते हैं ना. You see, this determination also, one thing I need to make very clear. If you do not have Sharanagati, this determination is just stubbornness and ego on your part. It is just your gaseous, inflated sense of greatness and grandness on you, oh, I am the determined person. Sharanagati is needed. If you have the Sharanagati to the parampara and to the process, and you have the determination, then you will break through. I am not saying the challenge won't come, the challenge will come. And each time it will become harder. I am not going to lie about that. I am not going to say, oh, it will be all smooth sailing from now on. No. It will become harder. But each time you break through, you realize, oh, wow, what a way to live. The way you experience your body becomes so dramatically different. You're like, what was I living in? I was living in a carcass before. I was not living in a genuinely alive body. What is this that I am feeling now? That doesn't come easily, no? Why should that come for free? So in that sense, like all things in yoga, it is very simple. Simple is usually confused with easy. I have made that distinction very often, that being simple is not the same as being easy. But it is very simple. There's actually nothing to, you just need Sharanagati and you need that determination. Once you have these two things, and you need to keep doing the process. The first thing people do when there is this kind of challenge is they stop the sadhana. They stop the process. Because it is making me physically uncomfortable. It is arousing anxiety in me. 2-3 days I'll take a break. No, at that time you do it. Push it through at that particular moment. Again, unless you are being monitored, you will make all these standard blunders. That is the moment when you need to get in touch with your guru or your teacher and say, this is what is going on. Because in the beginning you really cannot distinguish. You really cannot distinguish between a futile movement of the energy and an actually genuine, worthwhile forward movement or upward movement. योगा में कुछ नहीं है डिफिकल्ट. रादर योगा में डिफिकल्ट बहुत सारा है, लाइक कुछ नहीं है कॉम्प्लेक्स. Yoga is exceedingly simple and straightforward. And that is where the problem is. People want supernatural, miraculous. They want secret formulas and unusual diagrams and clothes in a particular way. And I'm like, no, you don't need to do anything. You just need to keep doing the practice. That's all. I don't need to do something further. I'm like, don't try to run away from what you're currently experiencing. By asking for something new, you're trying to escape what you're currently experiencing. Don't pull those games with me because I played all of them. I'm an expert at those games. So in the end, it boils down to two. When confronted with the hump on the path, Sharanagati and determination. You don't need anything else. Sharanagati and determination will see anybody through, always. Sarvam Shivamayam.